Hello, I'm Kyle Wester from Parenting Legacy Counseling and Coaching. In the last few weeks, if you have seen, I've been blogging and writing about two specific feelings that seem to be a big part of being a parent. And those two feelings, I'm sure you're familiar with, are called shame and anger. And today I just wanted specifically to share a story about how this really helped open my mind to see how shame and anger are so tied into the parenting experience and why it's so important for us, if we want to be the parents we want to be, have to be really aware of when this is playing a role in how we're approaching our kids. And so, there's this time where my daughter was in soccer. She was about 6 years old, and it was maybe her second year of playing soccer. And as a kid, I really loved soccer and really prided myself on what I look back at as my energy and my passion for the game, And so when my daughter was out there playing soccer, I noticed something weird happen in me, which maybe you've experienced it too, but I started getting really upset. And every time I saw her distracted or not running after the ball, I found myself just yelling and just constantly feeling this pressure to somehow push her towards the ball, to get her to run faster, to get her to be more focused. And the whole time I felt like this was completely justified. Like, this is what you've got to do. You've got to get your kid out there because they're not focused. They're not listening. I've got to yell louder. And even though all the really wise coaches at that time would tell me that doesn't work, even my own daughter would tell me it doesn't help, I continued to do it game after game after game. And after each game, I would still feel a little justified. As I reflected upon it, I would think, yeah, that doesn't seem to be working. But then it seemed like next game I would do it again and again. And I posted this in a blog recently about how that anger is my anger. It's not my daughter's anger. Although in the moment it seemed as if my daughter was making me angry, it was really me being angry about something else. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then as I began to reflect upon it, that's when I saw shame pop up into the picture. And I began to remember back when I was a kid playing soccer. When I look back and I remember myself being so tenacious on the field, but there were times where I didn't do it well. There were times I messed up. And I remember my dad at the time was my coach. And there was a lot of things I liked about having my dad as a coach, but one thing that was kind of frustrating was when I looked over on the sideline and he'd be disappointed in me. And at the time, I don't know if I'm perceiving it correctly, but I would look over and that just devastated me when I saw how disappointed he was in me. And I thought as a kid, I'm never gonna do that to my kids. I don't want them to feel what I'm feeling right now. And then I find myself at my daughter's soccer game and I'm making a very similar face to what my dad did. And there's this weird thought that crossed my head. Well, I wouldn't have to be this way if Abby would just play better. If she could just play soccer better, I wouldn't feel all this shame, and thereby I wouldn't be so mad. And so it was kind of this really messed up thing, how anger and shame were really clouding my ability to perceive the situation clearly. I was really blaming my daughter for her somehow making me act like my dad, and then insinuating to her in some subtle and not so subtle ways, if you would just play better, then I wouldn't have to be like this. And that's the real deceitful part about anger and shame. And so if you've ever felt that before with your kids, if you've ever been caught up in that kind of confusion like I was, that's what I'm hoping that I just bring to light today. That my anger is always my anger. And most of the time my anger is also connected to my shame. And I don't want to give that to my kids. So I hope that's helpful to you today. Have a great day.